Very good evening everyone. Today we are going to discuss about tongue. So in previous video we are configure VLAN on each switches. We are configure 4 VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40, and each VLAN are separated because we want to create multiple broadcast domain on switch to perform network performance and reduce the switch overload. So basically we want to in this practical to carry multiple VLAN traffic from one switch to another switch. So before trunk, if we want to connect one VLAN from one switch to another VLAN of different switch, so basically we have to connect VLAN 10 and VLAN 10 or different switches. So I'm going to connect. So basically I have to use same VLAN port from this switch to this switch. So only carry VLAN 10 traffic on this connection. So I take first Ethernet 1 to 10 for VLAN 10, same for this switch also. So I'm going to connect fast Ethernet 8 to this port. So it only carry VLAN 10 traffic, not VLAN 20, 30, 40. So it is not a scalable because we use 4 cable to connect 4 different VLAN from one switch to another switch. Look at this message. This is the message from VLAN 10. It's going to VLAN 10. But if I want to connect VLAN 20 from this switch to different switch of same VLAN 20, this message is not going to carry by this cable because it is connected only VLAN 10. So I need another cable. So I attach another cable which is belong to VLAN 20. So basically we are configured from fast Ethernet 11 to 15. So I have to connect from VLAN 20 port to this switch of VLAN 20 port. So then the message is going to be forward from VLAN 20 to VLAN 20. So for each VLAN I need separate cable from one switch to another switch. So basically this is not a real scenario. We cannot use this scenario. So we have to configure trunking protocol. Now you see two cable to connect different VLAN. But I want to connect same one physical connection to connect multiple VLAN traffic from one switch to another switch. So we have to configure trunking protocol where trunking protocol carry multiple VLAN traffic. So you can see there are only 4 VLAN and we need 4 separate cable. But in trunking we need only one physical connection to carry multiple VLAN traffic without mixing it. So let's learn about trunking. So what is a trunking? So trunk port allow multiple VLAN traffic to pass through a single physical connection. So basically trunk is a protocol which allowing multiple VLAN traffic to pass through a single physical connection, which is more reasonable because we only use only one physical port and physical connection to carry multiple VLAN traffic. There are basically two types of protocol. One is a Cisco property which is ISL, inter switch link, and another is open standard, IEEE standard, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineer. Basically it is a open standard protocol. You can use any switch, and ISL it only use on Cisco property, only Cisco switches. So what trunk does? So basically trunk tag whenever the packet going to trunk connection, physical connection, the packet tag by its VLAN. So each frame has a tag that specifies the VLAN it belong to. Tag is added the frame when it goes on the trunk, and the tag is removed when it leave the trunk. So when packet enter in trunk port, the basically what switch does, it add VLAN number. So if this message is going to from one switch to another switch using trunk, so this message is going to be add a VLAN number when it's leave to trunk. When it's enter the another switch, the tag is removed by this switch, and the packet is going to be VLAN 20. That's basically is the how trunk is work. So let's configure the trunk on this switches. So I'm going to delete this connection and we are going to use trunk. So in trunk we don't have to use VLAN port, we have to use gigabit 01. So these port are not in any VLAN. Basically these are the in VLAN 1. So basically when we configure trunk, these port are not belong to any VLAN. So it become access to trunk port. Let's connect each switch from gigabit 0 to gigabit 02. Now this switch from gigabit 01 and configuring trunk. Open switch 1, enable password CCNA. Let's see, password is uppercase letter, that's why. Now configure terminal and we have to configure trunk. So basically the command is interface and the which port is gigabit 0/1. We have to run switch port mode trunk, enter. Now check if trunk is configured or not to show interface trunk. So gigabit 01 configure mode is on and the IEEE encapsulation 8021Q and trunking and the native VLAN is 1. Basically this port gigabit 01 on trunk port, it carry VLAN 1, 10, 20, 30, 40 traffic from gigabit 01 from one switch to another switch. We don't have to configure trunk on this port because it automatically create on this. Because if the trunk configure this port and this port is automatically in auto mode, trunk or auto will automatically configure trunk on this port also, but we have to configure on this port and this connection. So let's open this switch and check trunk is enabled or not. So enable password configure terminal. So first of all I have to check trunk is configured or not. On the gigabit port do show interface trunk. So trunk is configured but is the mode is auto. So if you configure manual trunk on one side of switch, the other sides automatically negotiate into trunk. So I have to configure trunk on the other switch port. Interface gigabit 02 switch port mode trunk. Now I configure on both port. Run the command do show interface trunk. You can see here, and we don't have to configure on this switch. We have only configure for gigabit 01. Basically if we configure on gigabit 01, so this switch automatically configure the trunk on the both, because gigabit 02 we run trunk in here, so automatically this port are going to be trunk mode, and we are going to configure trunk on this switch on gigabit 01, so this port also be going to be trunk mode. So open the last switch, run the command enable password is CCNA and in configure mode 2. So basically we have to configure first trunk gigabit 01 switch port mode trunk and confirm. So we have to run show interface trunk. So you can see trunk is configured, it is the on, but basically we configure manually trunk. We can see here Wait, one more command, interface gigabit 01. Basically the command is show interface gigabit 01 switch port and enter. So here administrative mode is trunk, not in auto mode, it's on trunk mode, and the operational mode is trunk. So in this switch we configure manually, but in the third switch we don't run any command. So basically we have to fast forward to green, and now I'm going to open. So here I'm not going to configure trunk because it's already managed to configure trunk, because of the port is auto, and auto once is the trunk and other side is auto make trunk also. So run ccna and show interface trunk command. So you can see trunk is automatically created and mode is auto, not on, because we cannot created the manual trunk is here, but trunk is created because it's auto negotiation. So it's always when you configure trunk on one side of switch, the other side of switch which is connected to the this switch, it's automatically create the trunk port. And let's see interface. Basically its command is show interface trunk gigabit 0/1. You can interface gigabit, sorry, the command is interface gigabit 0/1 switch port mode trunk, switch port trunk, switch port and enter. Now you can see the mode is dynamic auto, but operational mode is trunk. So अब we have to send a message from this connection. So every system is connected through a single physical connection, which is the trunk, and the message is going to be carried by this port or every VLAN traffic. So I'm going to communicate sales to sales, marketing to marketing, and HR to HR, and IT to IT. Let's play one by one. These are messages. These are messages going one by one. This the message going to be sales. This message is going to be marketing, and this message is going to be HR, and this message is going to be HR. Yes. So all message is going to be from trunk port. So you can see this message is going to be from trunk port. Each VLAN communicate from one switch to another switch using trunk port, because trunk carry multiple VLAN traffic from one switch to another switch using VLAN tagging. So you can see. So this is the trunking protocol. We use trunking protocol to connect multiple switches to carry multiple VLAN traffic using single physical connection using VLAN tagging. Oh, thank you everyone.